Hey, 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 it's Terry, Virginia's daughter, and I am back today with New Look 6736. Yeah! Y'all sick of me in these New Look patterns yet? It's all right. It's going to be all right. So I wanted to do a sew along. Never done a sew along, and I figured I like this pattern. I liked it from the time I saw it. I'll just do a sew along for it. And little did I know that there would be two construction techniques that I'd never done before. Then there's that step that I skipped inadvertently because I didn't read the pattern instructions thoroughly. That's something that I'm working on. You know, take my time sewing because I've learned over the years I have to do that, but I need to do that when it comes to reading those instructions. So pray for me, pray for me. So this pattern is rated easy. I think it would be suitable for all skill levels. There are no fancy stitches, there's no fancy seam finishes or anything like that. Although I chose to, as much as I could, use French seams, but there were some places that I couldn't use French seams, so I just pinked. The thing that I would caution for a new sewist or somebody that's just beginning their journey is the fabric selection. So I think
soft cottons, batiks, gauze types, linen types, and silky types
are some of the suggestions for fabric. If I were just beginning sewing and I wanted to try this pattern, I would stick to the cottons and the batiks. Batik is like a form of cotton, I do believe, or has some cotton content. It's just the way that the fabric is dyed that changes the appearance. I would stick with cottons and lightweight to mid-weight linens, right? Because you wouldn't want anything too heavy because you want it to have some kind of drape. You know, gauze, on the other hand, can be really slinky and slinky, you know, almost like knits at times. It can have a little stretch to it. If it's crinkled gauze, it can, you know, cause some problems there. Unless it's like a firm, solid gauze that probably wouldn't drape, I tend to stay away from gauze. And then silky types, I would just stay away from those, period, if I could. I use the silky type. Now, the fabric I use is a satin weave polyester charmeuse that I got from Joann Fabric, my 70% off last chance fabric. And it is a little bit more difficult to work with. Because of the polyester, it has a tendency to roll a little bit. And, you know, it holds heat for a second or two. You think you got a nice crease, and then 10 seconds out, it's back to where it was. You might see the slightest hint of a crease. When I was actually stitching it up, I put some pressure on the back of the garment as well as the front to help it through the feed dogs because it was sliding. So it was sliding away from my guideline on the sewing machine. So I think that fabric selection is going to be big in terms of, you know, if you're just starting out and you want to make this pattern and you want it to be success, you want it to be a success. The success of this pattern for a new sewist or somebody that's just beginning is going to depend on the fabric content more than anything else, because everything else is, I'm going to say, a piece of cake. Notions, all you need is elastic and thread. For the pattern pieces, you have a front, a back, a bra, and the strap. The front piece, which is, you know, the main piece here, there's multiple pieces, multiple number ones with different sizes. So there's like 5 number ones with different sizes on the pattern. Some of them share a size. I think the 14 is by itself. That's the size I made, by the way, is the size 14. The pattern ranges in size from 6 to 18. In terms of the construction techniques, I would say that it's just a matter of understanding and comprehending the pattern instructions, which are well written, by the way. And the illustrations complement the pattern instructions very well. So I think once you can get through those instructions, you'll be good to go. I'm here to help with those instructions, okay? So let's get into it. The first thing I did was reinforce the corner of the top where the point will meet the sewn back. There's quite a bit of stress that's put on this area due to the way that it's attached. So make sure you reinforce this corner here. The next thing I did was created the upper edges of the top by folding on the fold line to form a casing and then finishing the raw edge. And because this area is kind of delicate, I'm gonna say, for lack of a better word, they do give you tips for not stretching. So you do want to adhere to those because you don't want that area to be stretched out because it's the finished top part of the top, if that makes sense. Next, what you're going to do on the same piece, on the opposite side of the piece, is hem the front and lower edge. You're just going to form a narrow hem, but you're going to leave 3 inches at the bottom that you're not going to hem at all, because that is going to be attached to the back. You're going to finish that at the time you attach that to the back. So make sure you leave about 3 inches, the instructions say. Next, I constructed the pleats. And this is the first time that I've seen this method where there are 4 pleats, of which a smaller one is in the center and it's hidden. So you make the smaller pleat first in the center, and then you make the other pleats. The third small pleat, as you can see, is here. It's not that small actually, but all right. So you can see there's only 1 pleat left. This one to this one. So once this one goes over here, it's going to cover this center pleat. I think this step is key to maintaining the integrity of the design of this top. Otherwise, if you modify this step, you have to modify every other step having to do with the pleats, as well as it's going to change how the top looks. You're going to have a modified version of the front neckline. One thing I hadn't noticed until it was all said and done was that the instructions recommend that you base the pleats along the seam as you make them. Listen, that is the best idea, because I kept losing the pleat. So I was using pins, but pins weren't working that well. I got a pin stuck in there somewhere. Where's that pin? I got a pin stuck in there somewhere. It's a lot of basting, but believe me, if I had read this detail, it could have saved me some time fiddling with that pleat later on, because it took me a minute to get it right. It took me a whole minute. It's a pretty cool step, pretty nice construction step. I like it, I like it. You're going to create a casing, which is going to be it's going to end up being about 3/8 inches wide, a casing on the upper and lower edges of the bra. This should be cut on the fold, but I had to stitch down the center for fabric's sake. So I have 2 rows of stitching. I have a 5/8 inch stitch, and I have a 2/8 inch stitch, which is a quarter. Okay, so the elastic that we're going to use is 3/8 inches. So by the time you fold this over, 5/8. That's my 5/8 inch line. And then I turn this over a quarter, right? There's going to be 3/8 of an inch left for the elastic. The bra portion is complete. Yeah, I really don't like this piece, but like I said, it's going to be on the inside. I don't like that seam right there. So then you insert the elastic through the upper and lower casing and stitch across the ends to hold in place. Now the pattern suggests that you work with both casings at the same time to prevent, and I quote, a tug of war that would occur if you do one at a time. Now, there is a note also on this step that tells you that you're going to cut 5 elastic pieces total. 2 of them are going to go in the bra and 3 of them will go in the back of the top. There are going to be 2 pieces that are cut shorter than the other 3. The other 3 will be cut at about 19 inches long. So just make sure you use the upper elastic in the upper portion of the bra and top, and the lower elastic in the lower portion of the bra and top, and you'll be fine. I did not do that. So don't be me. Do not be me. Step 7 begins with the back, which is piece 2. All right, so this is piece 2, which is the back portion. This piece is in fact cut on a fold. This is a fold line here. I'm going to know that because there's a dot here, right? So that's my fold line. Yeah, so from here to here is 1/2 inch. And then from here to here, we're going to press under 1/4 inch on upper. So we're going to press over 1/4 inch here. Press upper edge to inside along fold line. Then we're going to fold that down here. This is the fold line here. And then stitch along the stitching lines to form the 3 separate casings. Okay, so let's do that. Turn this inside to the fold line. There's a notch here and a notch here. We're just going to match those notches up. All right, so I sprayed some water. I put a cloth over this, sprayed some water, and so it did give me somewhat of a fold crease. You can see it's a little uneven there, my lines. Ideally, this line should be there, but I'm not going to worry about it. So what I'm going to do now is go to the machine, and instead of drawing lines on here, I'm just going to use this edge right here. So from here, I'll do a row of stitching 1/2 inch from here, which will end up somewhere here. It'll be a straight line, and then from that row of stitching, I'll measure down to the next row of stitching. So I'm going to use my machine as to do my stitch lines. This is an area where you can, you can be creative. You can mark those stitching lines however you want to mark them and get them right. That last row of stitching serves 2 purposes. It's going to be the end of the most bottom line of the casing. However, it's also going to be part of the finished edge. So then you're going to insert the elastic in the casing, starting with the top one, and then working your way down the same way you did with the bra. So the tip is to do it all at the same time so you're not struggling with, one row of casing or the other. Okay, so hopefully it's still light enough in here. So this is what we're looking like here. I'm gonna sew these edges here so that I can take the pins out. And let's see what's next. So next what we're going to do is, with wrong sides together, baste bra to back at sides, matching small dots. Open out the front facing, slash the inner corner of the facing to the stitching at the small dot, being careful not to cut through the stitching. So this is that corner that you reinforced in step 1. With right sides together, pin one front to back, matching small dots. Stitch the side seam below the small dot, back stitching at the small dot. So then you're going to turn the facing over the right side of the bra at the small dot and stitch across the side edge of the facing through all thickness. And then you're going to do the other side the same way. I would say that beginning with step 10, 11, and 12, so steps 10 through 12, I would say do a basting stitch on all of that, because this would be a perfect time to try the garment on. If you had to make any adjustments, now would be a good time to do that. And once you try that on and you like the way it fits, go ahead and stitch it up if all is well, and then trim the elastics. Okay, so step 16 is a little bit confusing, I think. So on the outside, flap the right front over left, turn upper raw edges towards each other, having the wrong side of the left front facing the right side of the right front. pin raw edges together, pull out the raw edges and stitch in a 3/8 inch seam allowance, having outer edges even. Create the loop for the tie by folding the upper edge exactly at the seam line and stitching 1 inch from the fold. Make the tie. Attach a safety pin to one end, insert it through the loop, and voila, the top is complete. Yeah? Woohoo! And I made the pants, you know, the pants are just pants. Stitch front to back at inner leg, center front seam, and back and side, matching inner leg seams. Make casing, leaving an opening for elastic. Attach casing to pants, insert elastic, close opening, and voila. Go forth and be cute. In conclusion, overall, I would say that I am just delighted with this pattern. It's just cute. I mean, I think it's so cute. And I gotta tell y'all, I thought this was a dress. I mean, I thought it could double as a top and a dress. So I made it a little big to give the coverage, right? But it's just a top. And so I'm like, in my mind, I've been like, do I want to try to convert this to a dress? How would I do that? I think this pattern is going to be a keep for me. And that is because I want to make the top like the shorter version. There are a couple of look fors, you know, I do that with all of my projects. It would have to be this top part here. I think that my pleats are a little uneven. What I noticed is the closer that you bring this neck piece in here, the less room the pleats have to lay the way they should. I think if I widen this out a little bit, which I might do, you know what I mean? Because I'm very picky. It would have more room to drape. I love it. You know what I mean? I'm satisfied with it. It's well made. But as hard as I worked on them pleats, okay, I want them to look just right. The next top that I make, I'm gonna focus on this area here to get it just right. I feel like now it's okay, but it's not just right. And that's what I'm always shooting for, is just right. You can see in the pictures that I took when I wore this last week or whenever it was, I left the pin in there. So you're gonna see the pin dangling at the bottom. I'm like, Terry, oh my goodness. So yeah, this is it. I am well pleased. The pants, you know, I didn't take the time to match up the stripes, especially in the front, the window pane pattern. I regret that, you know. I don't like the way it necessarily looks in the front. I always wear those pants probably with something maybe covering, maybe not, maybe not. I don't know. Thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate your stopping by. Create something fabulous, and until next time, take care.